Good morning, South by Southwest and Brand Innovators. How we doing this morning? So my name's John Legittino, and if you love memorable experiences half as much as the three of us, you guys are in for a real treat. Not only do we have incredible experiential leaders like Kim Trieu and Judy Lee, but they hail from companies that are really ubiquitous with experience in general right now. You have Pinterest, which is a platform where people go to plan experiences and really maximize and shape the experiences that shape our lives. And then you have Expedia, which is Hotels.com, Vrbo, Expedia, a number of other properties. But like half the world travels on Expedia. I mean, I'm not going to ask this, but I imagine there's nobody in this room that hasn't planned an experience on both of these platforms at some time in their life. And here we are at South by Southwest, like one of the cornerstones of the experiential revolution. So if you love experiences, you're in for a treat. So it's really my pleasure today to welcome Kim Trieu and Judy Lee of Expedia Group and Pinterest. And I just want to start out by asking you to talk a little bit, Kim, about your role at Expedia and what you do there, and a little bit about how you came to the company.
Of course. Well, first off, I need to start off with who I am as a person too, and just acknowledge that I attribute a lot of my passion and the roots of my career from my parents. I am a child of immigrant parents and really learned the art of creating experiences and hosting individuals from my time at working at their nail shop when I was a little girl and just being there and greeting people. So I just have to pay a tribute to that of why I'm in this career space. I used to work at VML leading activations, specifically during COVID, so a lot of digital first activations. Made a jump to Vista, formerly known as Vistaprint, which you guys probably know is the old grandpa business card company. But we were on the global branch activations team, where we really try to shift the perception from this business card company to a company that is the design partner for all small businesses. And now I'm at Expedia Group, leading experiences for an experiential company. Travel is our core product, and it's an experience within itself. But I lead specifically experiences geared to our internal audiences, and really trying to close the gap between external and internal audiences, and really invest into our internal employees, because at the end of the day, employees are our best advocates. So it's a little about me.
Thanks, Kim. And the incomparable Judy Lee, AOL, Pandora, Facebook, Pinterest, Adweek inclusion councils. I mean, what haven't you done? Talk a little bit about how you arrived at Pinterest and what your work consists of there.
Sure. Hi, everyone. Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here and join John and Kim on this panel. And also love seeing so many familiar faces out there. Shout out to Joe for watching my bag. But anyhow, currently I am the Group Creative Director and Global Head of Brand Experiences at Pinterest. But I've had a long career, as John had mentioned. And one of the things that got me really excited about joining this particular panel is that Kim and I had connected a few times, and mostly last year, where we got to meet in person at the Lush House. And we just started talking, and there's so much that we had in common. And how I got my career started was working at Gap Inc. and really focusing on internal audiences, both corporate and store managers. So, and then my trajectory, that was over 2 decades ago, has really kind of gone from being a marketer. If you see my LinkedIn, I call myself a recovering marketer, but now I'm all in on creative and global brand experiences. So I'm really excited to talk about it. I feel like it's such an interesting space, especially as we move forward. And so I'm really excited to just share the knowledge today.
And you love experiences so much. Talk about where those tattoos came from.
Sure. So as you'll see, I've got a few. These are real because that's what someone else always asks me. But at one of our activations, we started doing this at Cannes Lion, which many of you are probably familiar with. And one of our concepts a few years ago was all around the manifesting, because we really found that Gen Z is all about manifesting. And for Pinterest, the thing that we think is really different about what we do is that it's not just pure inspiration, it's not just pure action, but we cover the whole funnel from inspiration to action. And for a lot of people, especially the people who've never gotten a tattoo but are tattoo curious, all they need is a little push, right? And so we really made it easy for people to get their first tattoo or their 20th tattoo. And so we work with a partner, and we were giving away free tattoos at Cannes Lion, probably our most popular activation. And one of the things that my CMO was like, why are you doing that? No one's going to get a tattoo on the beach. But sure enough, if you've ever been,
They did.
they did. And if you've ever been to Cannes Lion, you never see a line at 8 a.m. We had people queuing up at 8 a.m. We didn't open for another hour just for a chance at a tattoo. So we are probably bringing that back this year. So definitely stay in touch.
Judy mentioned on our prep call that one of the benefits of being in experiential is it's really the coolest thing oftentimes that companies have to talk about. So today we're going to talk about individual experiences that both of these people have brought to life and that their brands have brought to life. But first, let's just sort of sum this up. So Kim, if you would, just talk a little bit about some of the challenges and opportunities at Expedia Group right now and how it's positioning itself in the marketplace.
Yes. Well, I did to start off that Expedia Group, one of our opportunities is to grow Expedia Group as a brand. We are really trying to position ourselves as the ecosystem of travel partners and really catering to a lot of specific needs of each traveler. Like I mentioned, we have Expedia Group and then Vrbo and then also hotels.com. Each of those platforms have a different specific, obviously, prop or value. And so we're really trying to position ourselves and make sure that everyone understands this is the go-to platform where this is a whole ecosystem of brands that cater to every single one of your needs. So that is definitely a challenge. And with that, the opportunity is that we actually have a relatively new events and experience team that is going to cover from B2C, B2E, and then B2B audiences to really create a cohesive brand experience. So that is a big opportunity for us, and we're going to continue to invest into those kind of experiences.
Yeah, it's fascinating. So your team is about a year and a half old, about 10 people. And so this is really an emerging opportunity within the Expedia Group landscape to leverage the power of experience to reach customers. And as you were talking about, the Vrbo customer is different from the Expedia customer, different from the hotels.com customer. And as we'll delve into later, there's lots of other players in the market have used experiential, and excited to hear how you might do it. Judy, talk a little bit about where Pinterest is now, some of the opportunities, some of your target audiences, and then just generally how Pinterest leverages experiential to reach those audiences.
Sure. Before I jump into that, I do have to say I am very jealous of what Kim gets to do because I feel like creating experiences around travel is so exciting. Like there's nothing more inspirational than like traveling to places. So anyway, I have a little bit of envy there. But for Pinterest, our team works on all audiences. So we focus both on consumer, and for consumer, we're really focused on that planning mindset. So I don't know if how many of you here may have planned some of your festival fits on Pinterest or looked for some inspiration. I know I did, but that is definitely one of the core use cases. People think of Pinterest for planning, especially as consumers. We're working on a really great activation for Coachella coming up as well. So if you're going to be there, definitely come through and check us out. And so with that, we also find that the Gen Z audience on Pinterest is our fastest growing cohort, which is a little unusual for a company that's been around for longer than 15 years. You would not think that it still felt very cool to the younger generations. I like to think of myself as geriatric Z, but and Gen Z.
Oh my God.
And so
I say Judy brings in more youth than she has more tattoos than me. So I think she brings more youth than I can. And so, yeah, anyway.
I try. And so for us, it's really about being culturally relevant, giving that inspiration to that next generation. And we definitely see a lot of cross-platform usage. I think if you search for aesthetic on Pinterest, you'll see a lot of results there. And then secondly, we also work on B2B audiences as well. And so advertisers and revenue growth are another huge focus for us. And so for us, it's in that segment, it's all about painting the picture of us being a full funnel platform. I think a lot of brands get that we were great with upper funnel, but we're actually more of a visual search platform. So a lot of what we do, we use those insights to really inform all of our activation. So on the B2B side, like I mentioned, we're at Cannes Lion. We've had our big franchise around Pinterest Predicts, which is our overall insights platform where we look at the predictions for the year ahead. And sure enough, it's like 80% true, and we aren't checking our own math. That's like externally validated. So if you haven't checked out the Predicts report, for instance, one of my favorite trends this year is Western Gothic. So we announced this in December. This is before Pharrell put out all of his LVMH Western Gothic, before Beyonce, Queen Bee, also announced her new album. So we're feeling really good about these trends, and so we really try to incorporate those insights into all the work that we do.
And as a Gen Zer, I can confirm these trends are true. It's 100%. So check it out.
So as a Gen Z, I mean, you are a Gen Z marketer in that you oftentimes are marketing to Gen Z, but you also are Gen Z. And you had so many really interesting insights on our conversation about the power of authenticity and how your peers really aren't being sold by photo moments. And we talked a lot about that too. So obviously we're here at South by Southwest. I know our team's activated here over a number of years. And back, right before the pandemic, everybody wanted a museum of ice cream, a photo moment. And now I think we talked about that. And that's really not working for either of your brands anymore. So if you guys could just sort of address, what do you think Gen Z is looking for in experiences? What moves them? And then Judy, maybe the same.
Awesome. Yeah, I think it's obviously nothing new that us Gen Zers, we don't want just a photo op in a world of photo ops. We appreciate the photo opportunities. Don't worry, I love taking a great picture, but I think we are coming fatigued with all these photo opportunities when there's so many in the world. We really are just craving authenticity, realness, connection, and showing something that can really engage with us, inspire us. I know that Judy has so many activations that I can truthfully say, yeah, I want to make a candle. That brings out the creativity in me. That's something that relates to me on another level than just a photo opportunity moment. And again, I think there's a lot to be said about the experiences when you create those photo moments, that there's a lot of FOMO inducing moments. And I know we'll probably touch upon that later, but there's something to be said about the future of FOMO experiences, which I don't think Gen Zs are taking lightly, or we would like those. There's definitely another shift to that, but I'll pass it to Judy to.
Yeah, I think that's so true. And the main reason why, Pinterest, we haven't focused on the photo moment, and maybe it's because of my own history, is I used to work at Meta, Facebook. And so we're very, very, we want to feel differentiated from TikTok, from Instagram and everyone else. And Instagram is the best place to do really great photo and video activations. But for us, and then, back when Twitter was still Twitter, it was all about what are you doing right now? And for Pinterest, we were all about the future. And so where we're really connecting with Gen Z is thinking about how do we create authentic and inclusive experiences. And not only that, we know that Gen Z, creativity isn't a nice to have. Creativity and self-expression is not the side hustle, it's the hustle. It's what they are most interested in. And so for us, that's why we at Pinterest, finding who you are, finding your aesthetic and your taste, that's an adventure. And that's what we want to help people get to without judgment. You don't go onto Pinterest to be oh, look at what I'm doing. Not that there's anything wrong with that, because trust me, I am also on social media, but it's more about personal media and discovering your own tastes, what you're interested in, and connecting to those. So
I think you said it perfectly. It's the Instagram girl versus the Pinterest girl. I mean, talk a little bit about the differentiation there.
Yeah. Again, no slamming, but essentially, if you think about the Pinterest girly versus the Instagram girly, just close your eyes and what do you think, right? It's two very different people, two very different aesthetics, and two very different things that people are going for. And so what we're really finding with Gen Z is that they want to cultivate those interests. They want to be inspired and figure out how to go do them. And so that's what we're really focused on, is how do we connect people with what they're dreaming about? And, Pinterest of yore, you would think of, oh yeah, weddings, home design, recipes, but now it's all around aesthetics, it's all around fashion, it's also around travel. So we have a ton of data and insights that really help us inform that.
Kim, you talked a lot about B2E, which, employee events have been around since the beginning of time, but I don't think they've ever gotten the sort of mass attention that they get now, not only from, social media and the market at large, but also in terms of budgets. And so as we're looking at ways to inspire our teams and our employees, I know both of you are doing that in a different way. I definitely, Judy, want to hear about the folks who are already going to Coachella and how you know that. But Kim, you're very focused on inspiring the Expedia group employee base. And I just want to understand, why is that? Why spend there versus something external? And what does Expedia Group get out of investing in B2E?
100%. This is a topic that I am so passionate about, because we know that investing internally, and I think you guys probably know this, directly ties external. We see these employees as the biggest brand advocates. I mean, they literally breathe our brand 9 to 5, 5 days a week, and they are our brand champions. So why aren't we tapping them into more to connect to the external piece of it, feel that content engine for the external ways? And also, as a Gen Zer, if I see an employee content on their platforms, I am 100% more likely to trust that brand and support that brand than any other brand that doesn't choose to post about their employees. So not only that, we do believe that investing in experiences for employees ensures that we are building a better experience for the consumers. Like if they can do their best work at work, obviously they're going to create even a better experience for their own consumers itself. So at the end of the day, it's going to build our business, build culture. At the end of the day, it's going to also bring a better brand for Gen Zers as well. So,
Yeah.
And building off of that, our team, we have one of the largest experiential teams internally, but Pinterest, we're not like a 50,000 person company. We're roughly 5,000. So we want to share all the resources that we have. And I know that our team is one of the largest. And so I regularly connect with our internal communications and people looking at recruiting and talent brand, pretty much all of the teams. And so, we're fortunate because as soon as we put out a big activation, and I'll even mention the Cannes Manifestival again, that not only inspired our consumer activations and what we're doing at Coachella, but also an Investor Day activation that we did with actually Factory 360. And so our CEO loved what we did so much that he was like, just do that, but for investors. And I'm like, okay, the Cannes audience and investor audience are pretty different, but like, we'll figure this out and make it right. And then not only that, as we're planning for Coachella, we're working very closely with our internal comms team. And so they even already did a poll to see who's going. So if there's a way for us to give them a little bit extra, just like you said, in terms of how do we build that advocacy within our employees, because they're great brand ambassadors and everyone wants to be a part of it. It's easy to be jaded and forget, like, my job seems really exciting to people. And I do love my job. But, actually our general counsel even DM'd me and she's like, you have an exciting job. And I was like, you think so? But anyhow, so we always want to give people, be generous in that. Why not scale what we're doing and give them the creative, figure out ways we can use that internally. And it is a great way to rally employees.
Yeah, I just have to add, like, the point of combining, all the events experience teams into one cohesive unit and be able to share resources. It's going to be creating, again, a consistent brand experience for every audience that that brand touches. And at the end of the day, will bring better business. Like I like to say, like, whether it's B2C, B2B, B2E, it's humans to humans. At the end of the day, that's who we're talking to. So we need to keep that in mind at always.
One question I have for both of you around the sort of B2E spend is, Judy, you are so focused on measuring efficacy. And I feel like when we first started doing brand experiences a long time ago, everyone's like, love these, my CEO love these, but how do we know if they work? And I feel like in experiential, we've gotten a lot better at knowing, is this kind of work driving results? Let's just explore for a second, thought experiment. I mean, how do we know if spends on business to employee activations are driving the sort of internal culture and morale building? Is it retention? Is it working closely with culture teams? How do we know if this is effective?
Yep, that's a great question. I think for us, it's partially like there's a broader employee survey that's done. And so we're always kind of looking, and there's specific questions over time that look at how are people feeling about the business, how are people feeling optimistically, and then there's always like open boxes for people to put in comments. I think that's one big way of how people are looking at that. We're also looking at employee retention. I would say, like, on the B2B side, we definitely have very advanced models for how we track revenue impact, and then on the consumer side, where you have a bunch of different equity trackers. And then I think as we look at all of that for employees, it is around, like, we have a pulse survey that we look at satisfaction and retention. And I know we have kind of a absurdly high retention rate. And even my own team, like almost everyone, like, I've been at Pinterest for 7 years. 2 of my directs have been around for, I think, over 5 years. So I feel like we're doing something right. And in terms of building that culture and really thinking about that at the ground level.
Yes, add 100 to everything, and especially retention, and really partnering with our talent attraction teams. I mean, like I mentioned, content is going to be such a key performance indicator for a lot of our initiatives for employee experiences. So tapping into that and ensuring that we're getting that content and how that content performs, and as well as that talent attraction. Like, are we bringing in new talent, and then also retention? So we also do surveys as well and do pulse surveys. And we actually have one specific question that we really measure over time, and it's the pride question. Like, are you prideful in working at Expedia Group? Are you prideful in the work that you do? Are you prideful in what we're doing as a company? So those are definitely the questions that we ask continually and measure over time.
So I'm sure a lot of you have seen Vrbo specifically. The marketing has been really innovative. This is a company that's been around for, I think, much longer than Airbnb, right? Vrbo's been around for a very long time. But it almost feels like a new brand. And it's interesting that now you guys are going to be starting to launch experiences around that. When we think about an Airbnb and the experiential work they've done, we're talking like, a Malibu dream house where people can book an evening or spend a night in Vincent van Gogh's bedroom at the Chicago Art Institute. Is that what you guys see ahead for Vrbo, or will you look to differentiate in a different way for a different audience segment?
Yeah, I have to say the way that we're differentiating Vrbo is that we're really focusing on the family traveler. We're actually trying to make sure that we're different and that we are providing whole spaces, like whole houses and privacy to where you can gather your own people. And so, yes, 100% we want to invest into experiences that take someone out of their normal day and experience it in a whole home. And so we're focusing more on the family traveler versus our other competitors. But 100% we want to invest in these immersive experiences and take people outside of this. And again, our brand is centered around travel, which is the biggest travel experience of all, and making sure to remind people that it's much more life than just materialistic things, but the experiences we have in them. And so we're going to definitely be investing into that.
Judy, one of the things that I found the most impactful about our conversations, it seems like you just absolutely refuse to look around at what other people are doing and say, let's just do that, right? Someone did whatever at Cannes last year, let's do it. But you're looking for what everyone's not doing, which I think is a big piece of what makes you so effective. And you talked about Cannes, and you said, well, I'll let you tell the story, but it's like everyone's there to chase CMOs. And Pinterest is not doing that. So, what is Pinterest doing at Cannes that's different and meaningful?
One of the benefits I have I've been to Cannes a ton of times, and then I think one of my strengths in working in B2B is that I also am a consumer of these experiences. So even how I'm tackling South by, I'm like, how do I get to the most interesting talks? But I also just want to experience things. I want to make things, or I want to do things, or see them. And when we went to Cannes, the thing I noticed year over year over year, so many talks everywhere, but even you have the CMO of Coca-Cola and there's 5 people in the audience because there's just so many things going on. And it also, when you're in that activation space, we're at the Carlton Beach Club, it's beautiful. What I don't want to do is have a meeting that you can have in New York. What I don't want to do is what everyone else is doing. And so a few years ago, we made this big bet, made everyone nervous, including our CRO, and we were just like, hey, we're not going to do any talks this year at our space. He's like, what? Because that is definitely our clients and brands love doing that. And so we're like, what if we just focus on an underserved audience at Cannes, which is Gen Z. They're not allowed into the really bougie experiences that are only for CMOs, and you need to give a vial of blood to get into the best things. And so we're like, F it. Let's just make this as open and inclusive as possible, because we are also all about inclusion in every dimension. And we built these things because we also knew that Gen Z was a really hot growing audience within Pinterest. We wanted to showcase that. And a big thing of what we wanted to do at Cannes Lion were to show the CMOs who might not be on Pinterest itself what the world of Pinterest feels like in real life. And so we created this thing where all the activations were very Gen Z related that year. We had the tattoos, we had tooth gems, we had piercings. Actually, piercings, I don't still have my tooth gem now. We also did custom merch and the ubiquitous Uniqlo bag everywhere where people could customize it. And so Emma Chamberlain showed up and I was like, oh my gosh, and people were just coming in naturally for that. And what happened was that CMOs are like, wait, the Pinterest spot is just vibing right now. And that's where all of Gen Z went, because we made it open. We made them access the best food, the best drink, and the best experiences. And that worked really well for us. And we've now done that 2 years in a row. And I feel like we've been super successful with that.
And to just sort of round out this conversation, you brought up the word inclusive, and we talked a lot about it. I mean, obviously, everyone's talking about inclusion, but I think you both are really doing it in both of your brands and careers. I guess, Judy, really fast, talk about what you guys did at Cannes in terms of hairstyling and some of those options. And I really want to hear, Kim, from you on what you think is important from an inclusion standpoint at Expedia.
Yes. So we have inclusive products on Pinterest. If you're not familiar with them, we have our hair pattern search tool where you can search for styles for your hair pattern. We also have skin tone ranges, so you can see what looks good specifically on your skin tone. If you haven't discovered the world of nails on Pinterest, definitely check it out. And then we also have diversity by default for body ranges. And so it's really like being able to see more diverse body ranges all throughout the Pinterest feed versus size 2 model. And so for me, that's so exciting to bring out to the real world. And we brought this, our hair pattern search tool to life in Cannes. If you've ever been to Cannes, not the most diverse, inclusive place. And even just walking around, there was one place called the Afro Lady where if you were a Black man or woman, that's the only place you could get your hair done. And so we collaborated with our partners and we brought stylists to the beach that could work on a variety of hair textures. And it was far and away one of the most successful activations we had, because if there's nothing built for you, then you don't feel like you belong in that space, whether it's your skin tone, whether it's your size, whether it's your gender, and all of that. So that's just something no one's ever asked us to do. It's not on a brief. It's just what we do because we believe it's the right thing to do for people and for business.
I love that 100%. And I'll take a little different take on inclusivity. And it's the fact of that there's two audiences for your activations, right? The ones who attend your activations in real life and the ones that attend digitally. And something going back to what I mentioned of FOMO-inducing experiences, that we as Gen Zers, we don't want to see another photo opportunity or FOMO-inducing experience. We want to feel connected and belonging there. So really paying attention to what is that digital experience on after your activation. Is it content that actually is entertaining and valuable to me that stems from that activation, and ensuring that we feel included and we feel like we're belonging there. I think I saw a study that 53% of Gen Zers want to invest into a brand that supports mental health out of any other causes. So above any other causes, mental health is the biggest reason why we want to support a brand. And a lot to Pinterest about their mental health stand and inspiration. FOMO is really rooted in anxiety and fear. So why as a brand are we going to try to create that kind of feeling if we don't stand for that and to really reach Gen Z? So for Expedia Group, for every experience, we try to pay attention to the digital aspect as much as we can and ensure that that is inclusive as well, and ensure that everyone who also attends these experiences are intentional, that you bring something to the conversation. And I like to say it's like inclusive exclusion. You have to exclude to activate diversity and inclusion to make sure that everyone has something to bring to the conversation or invest into the experience. Otherwise, that one person who may not feel invested is going to kind of ruin the experience for other people that they're experiencing that with. So that is the really two things I would love to point out that Expedia Group we're really trying to take a stance on.
Thanks for that. Judy, you do a lot of mentorship in this community. When I first talked to Kim, she's like, yeah, I asked Judy to be on this panel because I look up to her so much and she's so amazing. And it's like you've built that sort of rapport. So what do you think it takes to be successful in this industry and in roles like both of yours?
Thank you for saying that. And I'm obsessed with Kim. So just thank you for bringing me in. I think it's the ability to listen, because I never feel like I'm the ultimate. I listen and learn from my team. Ariel, shout out to my team in there. And everyone is always teaching me things. Like I can show experience about how to navigate organizations, how to, do more of the traditional skills. But the thing that makes our work so exciting is that it changes a ton. It's a dynamic industry. I have no idea I don't even know the vocabulary of Gen Z half the time. Do I study on TikTok and Pinterest? Absolutely. But I think it's all about being a really good active listener, never thinking you know everything, because as soon as you do, then you stop learning. And so for me, I am just as much a sponge, love listening to Kim, love listening to my team, and just learning as much as possible. I think that kind of mentorship, where it's almost an exchange, is probably the best kind.
And Kim, what are you seeing work for you? What do you think it takes to be successful in this industry?
Honestly, for me, it was going out and experiencing these things real life and really keeping tuned in the culture. Like I like to say, I've been basically echoing of the digital first activation and always having digital at the forefront. So as we are going through these activations, really put ourselves in these consumers and pay attention to what the world is needing at the moment. And I think Gen Z is really leading that forefront of that. We will stand for what we believe in, and we're not going to let companies not do better. So being active and making sure that you're keeping in touch in the trends by actually going out and experiencing like the South by, honestly, all these South by activations. I try to hit as many as possible, but that's really what has got me to where I am, is just being out there and just understanding what makes these tick and what make people work. And it kind of goes back to like, what does create a really meaningful experience? And at the end of the day, it's about extending that experience beyond that point in time, making sure that you're engaging them in an authentic way. Those are my favorite activations I've seen so far. And even also to be intentional with details. Like even I would say Delta Lounge, I have to give a shout out to Delta Lounge because right now they're at my top of my list. Their event staff for their activation is employees. They brought flight attendants to talk about the brand. And it's like, again, going back to how employees are the brand champions, not only the flight attendants have that experience, but they all have a hospitality background. So they're going to be 100% the best event staff. But just the minuscule details like that, it shines the brand experience through and through. And for me, that's, I want to like pick at that and understand why they do those kind of things. And so that's exactly why I'm here.
And a quick shout out for the Experiential Collective. So talk about this side hustle that you're driving right now to build a community and industry understanding of all these activations and amazing ideas.
Yes, I started a community called the Experiential Collective about, I guess, a few months ago at this point. And really what spurred me to create this community was I was really yearning just to find a platform or space where I can like chat Judy and be like, hey, like, look at this. Like, what do you think of this? What is the inspiration for this? And really just tapping to each other to create that creativity. I didn't get to find that one space where I can just have that intimate conversation. So the collective itself is an intimate space. We hold it on Geneva, if you guys are familiar with the platform. And it's basically a lot of the brand side marketers from agency creatives to producers. And we all come together. We have monthly meetups every month. We bring in people like Judy. We're having a meetup tomorrow where we're actually going through a Porsche activation. We're going to the Audible activation as well, and experiencing it together and just bouncing ideas off each other. So every month we do meetups like that and just bring the space together, because I think we all need that space just to be chatting with each other. We just need to talk more and over communicate.
So for people interested in joining the collective or being part of it, what can they do?
Definitely reach out to me. There is a form that I put online. So if you look it up on LinkedIn, you can definitely find that. And we definitely keep the intimate space on a different platform. I'm not a fan of LinkedIn groups or pages, unfortunately, not to shame, but like there's so much spam in groups and I'm like, I can't really actually connect with anyone there. So yeah, just reach out on LinkedIn, reach out to me, and then also you can apply through the forum.
So thank you so much. And final thoughts from both of you, just overall, anything that we've missed that you want to cover?
I mean, just building off of Kim is watch the space right here. I feel like you are on the rise. I'm so inspired by you. And I just feel like the future of our industry is all around us. And so for me, I'm all about nurturing the next generation of talent. Just keep your eyes open and be generous with your ideas and your time.
Thank you, Judy. That means so much. And honestly, echo to that. I feel like also International Women's Month, I'm going to say, like, shout out to that, because I think it's all about investing to the next generation of women in general, but also like all talent. And the last thing I would say is, like, I know we didn't get to talk about this too much, but just a little tidbit is that sensory engagement is a really hugely unexplored space for how does sensory trigger emotions in your brain, and how does that go back to memory recall? I know you agree with me, that bird.
Sensory, yeah.
Yeah, very sensory. But yeah, what is that space looking like? How are we charting these emotions? How are they pulling at our brains? And how are we going to create memory recall and create actually perspective shifting experiences? Like at the end of the day, we want to shift someone's perspective. And that takes a lot more than just a photo opportunity. It takes a lot more than just one activation. So yeah, that's a hugely unexplored space. And I'll just leave it at that.
Well, thank you, Kim, Judy. Thank you so much for your time this morning, for all the great work you're doing. And we can't wait to see what you both do next. Thank you.
Thank you.